Welcome to the Bigfoot Society. In this classic episode from 2022, I talked to Bryan Bowden about his multiple encounters with Bigfoot and Dogman over the years in western New England. If you've experienced something similar to what Bryan has, or have more information regarding Bigfoot or other cryptids in the same area, please reach out immediately to me after this episode. Remember, your encounter could be the key to unlocking this mystery once and for all, so please don't hesitate to contact me at bigfootsociety@gmail.com.
What was it, Bryan, that got you into these cryptid subjects like Dogman, Bigfoot? What drew you to it?
Let's put Dogman to the side for a moment.
All right.
Because growing up, I used to watch a program called In Search of with Leonard Nimoy.
Yes.
Okay, that's how I grew up. I love monster movies. I love science, UFOs. I was lucky enough that my mother was a school teacher and she had the summers off. So she became a head counselor at a sleepaway camp in Connecticut.
Oh, okay.
Northwestern Connecticut. Ooh. And I basically was born. They brought me up to camp and I've been there for like decades. And it was great. It was a great way to get away from New York City for 2 months in the summer or a little bit more. We always looked at the stars. Being in the city, the stars, the light pollution just killed the stars.
Exactly.
So when you get to the country and you see all these stars and you can actually see the Milky Way, that portion of it, it's just amazing. And we used to see some crazy objects and we tell stories. But for everything, I was into the Loch Ness Monster, Bigfoot, the abominable snowman or Yeti, which is basically a Bigfoot in winter. I always thought that Bigfoot was in the Pacific Northwest. That's where Patterson Gimlin film, everything took place in the Pacific Northwest. And I was like, I want to go to the Pacific Northwest. I want to look at a Bigfoot. Not thinking anything of being in the East Coast or any place else. And one summer in about 19, I don't know if it was 77, 78 or 79. I don't remember that far back.
Okay.
But I slept on the bunk bed, top bed of a bunk. And when the counselors would come back someone would watch you in the bunk at night, and then some key counselors were off. So when the counselors would come back from town, drinking, eating pizza, whatever, you knew that they were all back because every light was shut off. Even the bathroom lights were shut off because they don't want to sleep with the lights on. So I'm sleeping on this bunk bed. Now, if my feet are over here, there's a window right here next to my feet. And the window is about, I'm going to say, maybe 2.5, 3 feet, maybe 3 feet by 3 foot, glass window that slide into the bunk. And I'm pretty high up. And I have this smell coming, like a skunky type of smell. And I have to get up. I have to go to the bathroom. I'm like maybe 10 years old, maybe. So I wake up. I smell this smell. I know the lights are out, so that all the counselors are back. And I get up. I sit up in my bed. And I look and I notice something's in my window. Whoa. So I'm like, okay, there's a lot of shadow play with trees and the full moon and whatever. Yeah. And I look and the smell of skunk and that putrid, disgusting, skunky smell is really strong. Not unusual for camp, but there seems to be a head or a face in the window and it's doing this. Oh. And I look and I'm looking at it from I'm trying to hide my physical body because my feet are exposed right by the window. And it looked like a giant monkey, okay? Like a gorilla / monkey. And I'm like, it got me unnerved. So I laid back down very slowly, trying not to move, because this thing could have easily just went right through the glass, grabbed me, pulled me through. So a little bit nervous. And after about an hour, my bladder couldn't take it. So I slowly creep back up. Yep. And then I get away from the window. And I just slide down my bed, and then I literally do a dog crawl throughout the bunk. And I have to I go underneath my bunk to the bunk that's right next to me, which is right by that side entrance. I'm by the side where this thing was peeking in, and there's a door there, mind you. And I'm literally crawling from that point all the way over the length of the bunk and slowly sneaking to the bathroom. Also knowing that the windows are there and this thing can come in that way too. Okay. Trying not to make any noise. And I peeked and I didn't see anything at that point. So I went to the bathroom. I slid off, did the dog crawl back, whatever. So that was it. That was my experience. And it was really unnerving. Wow. And I didn't know what it was at the time because, like I said, Bigfoot's in the Pacific Northwest. That's what they tell you on In Search of.
Yeah, exactly. And
now I do have photograph memory. And I was talking to my buddy, my partner, Al, about his encounter in Florida and stuff. And I said, I remembered this moment. So I said, let me do a search. So where my camp is, there's a lake right next to it. It's a reservoir. It's called Crystal Lake. Now, I'll tell you what's very interesting about it. The people that did that movie, Friday the 13th, came to my camp first.
No way.
Yes, they wanted to do it, which would have been, I would have been like, if I own the property, go ahead, but just replace every bunk.
Oh my goodness.
But the owners were like, oh, it's going to be a negative. They don't want the negativity. I'm like, there's no negativity. You'd have brand new bunks. Everything would be perfect. So that's their touch, but it's literally butts up against my lake, my camp. There's a lake, a little woodsy area, then my camp has a little lake in it. So I start doing my research and I look up Bigfoot sightings in that area.
Yeah.
And the same year I had my experience in the window, 3 separate people saw 2 bipedal cryptids hanging out right by that reservoir.
Really?
Yes. So it is. So I said, okay, so what I did see was legitimately a Bigfoot. And then that's when I'm older now. This was about 15, 20 years ago. Okay. I didn't really bother to do it. I just been doing a lot of independent stuff. And when you discover that there's Bigfoot in your area, you take these little expeditions, research investigations. And I just so happened to meet somebody who is very much into it. He started his own group, Al, and they started Bronxville Paranormal. We started doing investigations together, but we also do it separately. So that's how I got into it. I was a little bit more into the UFO stuff because I thought that would be cool. Yeah, we get abducted. We can cruise to these planets and stuff. And I'm like, no. When you know about aliens, you don't want to get abducted.
That's a no for me.
Yeah. One no, please.
Yeah. First off, that's fascinating. I grew up in Western Mass, and I can vouch for you. Northwestern Connecticut, people might think of Connecticut and be like, "Oh, is it really?" And yes, it is really.
Massachusetts too.
Yeah. Oh man, Western Mass is crazy.
Were you near Pittsfield?
One of my grandparents was in the Berkshires in Great Barrington.
I know, and you're basically the same. Okay,
but I grew up in Northfield in Franklin County.
Okay, Route 7, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So just to let you know that the town I was in is Winstead. They used to have a guy that they called the Winstead Wildman.
Winstead, yes.
Okay. So you've been through it.
Yeah. Yep.
It's about this big.
It's
the Winstead Wildman. And it's very interesting. There's been several sightings along that road into Massachusetts, specifically Great Barrington. Wow. There used to be a coach that would ride to Pittsfield and Great Barrington and come back down through that way. And there are several sightings of what they would call a wild man. It wasn't called Bigfoot back then. In most places, they didn't call him Bigfoot or Sasquatch. It was a wild man. Oh, that's a wild man. You stay out of the woods. And it's basically a extremely large bipedal humanoid-esque entity, which is Bigfoot. We got Bigfoot and Sasquatch from Indian tribes, and then later on, someone said, "Oh, look at the Bigfoot!" You know, the no-brainer.
The rest is history. Yeah.
The rest is it. But that whole area, that corridor, is heavily traveled. And what's interesting is when you find out later on, I have a buddy in Connecticut you should probably get on too, called Chris Reinhardt. He does a lot of investigations out of Winstead. In that area. He recently discovered and found a set of prints. I think there were 14 and a half inches right and left that went on for a bit. And it's a classic thing that happens to everybody that research investigates. When you have to carry packs, you're in the woods all day. You want to keep enough water for you to drink. Sure. But you also, if you come across a track, and what he came across was golden. You want to have some kind of casting material. And he took it out that morning or just before the investigation he was on to lighten the load a little bit. So he didn't cast it yet. He may have casted it now, but let me tell you, big time cryptids in that area, like Bigfoot, as well as, I'll give you an example of a dogman.
All right, go ahead.
So the way my camp was structured, on one side of this main roadway, that's a surface road. It's a route, I forgot the name, or maybe 263. And on one side's the camp property, and they own some sides on the other side of the road. And that's where the caretaker used to live. And they have something called the canteen, where at night we'd have a social. One of my best friends on the planet who I met in that camp one night, we're hanging out there. And this is years after I had that experience. I wasn't even thinking about it at the time. We would go on hikes and explore all the time. But at night, he decided to play, around and go behind the building into the woods, just do something. It was our free time. It's at night. We're supposed to be socializing anyhow. He comes out and he is deathly afraid. I know this guy. And he's scared out of his mitts. He goes, don't go back there. Don't go back there. There's a monster back there. I'm like, what are you talking about? He says it's 10 feet tall. It's got fangs. It's got yellow eyes.
Whoa.
It's got claws. It's a monster. Don't go back there. And he was adamant about this thing. And I'm like, come on, let's go. And he's like, Bobo, don't go back there. And we went back. We're not going to, we believe him because you could see he was unnerved. So we go back there and we don't find anything.
Okay.
But that's the experience. And to this day, when I question it, he says, oh, I was making it up. And I know him well enough to know that he was not making it up.
There's something. You can probably see it in his eyes.
There's a certain panic that you have at a moment where you're scared. You can't replicate that. You're not that good an actor.
Exactly.
Very few can. And so what you come to find out as a Bigfoot, as a researcher of all this stuff, cryptids and dogmen, and I never wanted to believe Dogman was real. Thank you to my partner. But it is 9 out of 10 times, if you have Bigfoot in the area, you'll have Dogman. And there's usually something that separates them. And they you stay on your side, we'll stay on our side.
Okay.
And usually it's because there's a made source of water, and there's a lot of type of food. So in that area specifically, there's a lot of water, fresh water. There's fish, there's turtles, there's deer. Something that's interesting, the bears have come back in, but there weren't as many when we were going to camp.
Okay.
So that could be from a 8 to 9 foot bipedal cryptid Bigfoot. And there's been many reports of Bigfoot actually having interactions with bears to territorial and ripping them to shreds.
Wow.
Just think about this concept for everybody that's watching, okay? Remember Michael Jackson and Bubbles, that little chimp?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Bubbles. Okay. So Bubbles has a little chimpanzee, like a baby chimp.
Yeah.
Without even thinking about it, could rip your arm out of its socket and get off your body.
Oh, yeah.
And Bubbles was maybe 3 feet, right?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Super small. Yeah.
Okay. What do you think an 8-foot version of that could do?
Game over.
Exactly. It's no joke when you see some of these videos, you see these big trees moving and whatever. So that's once you start really investigating it. And I investigated when I started getting older, when I had a car. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong. I was into very much the women around there, but it's also, hey, what are we doing today? Let's do this.
Mm-hmm.
And we did a day-night investigation. Fast forward when I first met my buddy Al. And we did an investigation once at a place called the Letchworth Village.
Okay.
It's up in Thales, New York. It's 29,000 square acres of a hospital that they would put the insane, undesirables, unwanted there. Now, what's interesting about this hospital is there was a lot of doctors there that would experiment on individuals, no matter if it was a baby or an adult. And they did polio experiments there as well. Wow. I think it was polio or TB, one of the two.
Okay.
So the way they had a candidate that worked, or vaccination or whatever worked, is if you didn't die, we're on to something, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So separate from where this facility was this cemetery. And in the cemetery, that's where they used to put all the bodies. And they dumped hundreds of bodies there from literally 1 day old to 90, whatever years old. Sure. These are all the ones that have died or they experimented on or whatever. So it was an unknown graves for a while. Some of the families that had relatives there, they banded together and they put up a plaque. So when you walk into this place, it's separate from the hospital. Okay. You actually have to drive to it in a different area. Okay. There's a lot of land between it. And the way it's situated on a back road that's paved, there's like maybe 3 houses. And you have to park your car. You'll walk through this path about a quarter of a mile. And then it opens up to this, what looks like a little bit of a mound, and the path goes to the right and the left. And in the center is a plaque that's probably, I'm going to say about 4.5 feet high by 4.5, 5 feet wide. And on it lists all the people there. So we were going on an investigation there. Now, the way this was situated, we're doing a day-night thing. We like to do day and night if we can, because things do change. When the outside world calms down a bit, you pick up a little bit more. It's a little bit more focused at nighttime. So what was interesting is if you picture if I'm standing at the cemetery, there's a tree, there's a mound, there's no grave markers. It's just a plaque.
All right.
And the road goes, there's a little pathway to the right around the mound and to the left. And to the left of us is a clear cut that they use for high tension wires, right? We started doing a survey first. We walked in, we went in there, and we started walking around a bit. And we walked past the cemetery, walked up this path. Wow, this is a cool place. I would have been hanging out there as a kid in this area, drinking beers or doing whatever.
Right.
And especially if I had a four-wheel drive, it would be like whatever. So it's very squatchy. So you have water nearby. You got swampy.
Okay.
You have the tension wires there. But I'm thinking more along the lines of ghost. I'm in the ghost hunting mode because we're there to do the investigation. And in the background, you can hear some dogs barking. And there was this one really big bark that we heard throughout the day. My buddy's like, dude, you hear this? You hear that dog? I'm like, yeah, it sounds like a really big one. It sounds like a mastiff or something like that.
Okay.
So we walk and we're like, we felt we were missing something. We're just trying to figure it out. So we go back, we start doing our investigation. He goes one way on the cemetery and I go the other. And the cemetery is, for all intents and purposes, maybe like 1,000 square feet. It's like a circle or a rotunda.
Sure.
So I'm doing my stuff. He's doing his stuff. We hear the dog barks and he's being drawn to a certain path and I'm just hanging out. And we just, there's something weird about it. We felt like there's something else going on. There should be other things that were present, given the type of location, what we were seeing, because we noticed things more than other people. Tree markers, breaks and stuff.
Gotcha.
So we go to this one point and we said, let's go to this one point and see where this meter, the EMF meter, is reading.
Okay.
And if, for the most part, being next to high tension wires, it wasn't that bad. Very surprised. So we hear these dogs barking and we're sitting there. And then I sit down for a minute to look up. Then I look up and I see in the tree, probably about, I'm 6'1", mind you.
Okay.
Maybe 10 feet up. There's a break, a fresh break.
Really?
In the tree. And I'm like, yo, take a look. He's like, oh, that's unusual.
Yeah.
Like, what came through here that's going to break that?
Oh, man.
So now I'm like, okay, what's going on? He goes, should I do a tree knock or a call? I said, you know what? Let's try with a tree knock. So he finds a piece of wood. It's bad. Finds another piece of wood. The dogs are barking. And the minute he hits that tree, boom, the dogs shut up.
Oh, yeah, dude.
There's silence there. So, okay. Very interesting.
They know.
They definitely know.
Yeah.
And him and I we pick up on each other. We know that was one tree knock. Okay. So we try to do a call. Doesn't work. We play around with the Tibetan singing bowl to try to ramp up the energy. And
interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
We love Tibetan singing.
Oh, yeah.
It's for some reason, the vibration, the frequency coming out of them, and depending on which one you're using, I usually use the heart chakra. And I forgot what note that is right off the bat. I apologize. I haven't used it in a while. My wife and daughter, stop. Don't use that. I'm like, I have to be dad too. And our EMF meter starts to go a little bit wacky. So I said, okay. So we started doing like a call and response type of thing. I'm like, if you're actually responding to us, know you're here, make this go up to 90.
Oh,
and
sure.
Boom, goes up to 90. Okay, great.
Wow.
No problem. So we start playing around with it. So now we're getting into this. It's paranormal, ghosty, but there's a cryptic type of marker here that I'm liking. Yep. And he starts going, do you hear that barking? Getting this feeling. He gets these certain feelings. He goes off on his own. And we regroup later on. So as we come back, this isn't that much time we've been there. We've been there maybe an hour. We see these two kids on a 4-wheel drive type of thing.
Okay.
I forgot what they're called. They come flying in here and they come flying and looking and they're talking. Yeah, we're looking for them now. We know they walked in here. We're looking for them. So we're figuring like, okay, what's this? So they come in there and they go along the path. They miss us because we're actually at this point, we decided to sit behind the marker where they give you the list of the people who are buried there. So nothing can come over our backs. So it's like a good point to be. So we got our backs covered and we can see out this way. And they're looking for us. It's clear that they're looking for us. So when they come back, we like, do we say hello to them? Maybe it's private property. We'll just want to get an idea. Right. And we get up there and they're like, what are you doing here? And I'm like, oh, we're paranormal investigators. We wanted to come to the Letchworth Cemetery. And they're like, and we're like, can we ask you some questions about the cemetery? No. And they take off real quick.
Whoa. Wow.
Like on a purpose. Like they went in, they came out.
Yeah.
And we noticed that. We're like, wow, that's odd. They were pretty quick. They would look like they were looking, or they couldn't get out of here fast enough. So mental note, back in the head, hit my buddy's head. We continue on with our investigation. And then we decide to go away for a little bit to get some to eat early dinner. Take a break. We eat. We come back. It's still a little bit light out. And we start investigating the front end of this area. And we hear this. I mean, like, I even commented, like, wow, that dog's pretty big. That dog sounds pissed. Like, it's really deep. You can kind of feel it. Okay. So we walk back the path where we came in, and there's a cutoff to the right. We start walking down the cutoff, and it's the same area to the right of us that my buddy Al was being drawn to. And we start walking. He starts looking. And as we walk in, we see this structure. There is a huge tree structure. Now, Bigfoot usually leans trees. They do teepees. They do stars. There's certain things here. Okay, so this was easily a 3 foot in circumference tree that was ripped from the ground with its roots, flipped upside down so the roots are up there, and attached. It was like perfectly straight here, and you had other trees ripped out with the roots like this on top of it. So it looked like a giant umbrella.
Weird.
That is very Dogman. I said, wow. I said, and it's really funny when you're focused on one thing, sometimes you miss the obvious signs. And that really clicked. I said, this is very, to myself, this is very Dogman-esque.
Okay.
But I'm like, we're really too close to the city for a Dogman. I'm like, that's my opinion. What would it be doing here? And I start walking a little bit further in the woods because we hear some sounds coming from that direction. My buddy Al's going, stop. Says, I got this feeling they're trying to draw us someplace. This doesn't feel right. Come back. And we've learned to trust each other's instincts. So I come back, and we don't continue down that path to investigate what those sounds are. So we come back and we're like, look, let's stay together. Fine. Now I'm trying to set this up. So where the entrance to this cemetery is, off this like 2-lane road, there's a little area when you pull up to it, there's a little area to the left. It's gravel that you would park your car. You probably could fit 3 to 4 cars there. And then if you go up a 1/4 mile more, on the right-hand side, it looked like a nature trail. And there's one of those light fixtures that's like incandescent light. Okay. It's yellowish. So when we came back, we parked up there under the light so people could see that, oh, someone's probably on the trail. You know, we don't want to get in trouble. We're not here to get arrested. So no problem. So we continue with our investigation, and my buddy starts getting really acting funny. Like he has this weird look on his face. Okay. He has issues with his technology. Yeah. I'm like, are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. Why? And I'm like, no, you don't seem right. And it's getting cooler and colder. And you hear this, like this wolfish type of. Oh, man. And at one point, just through our evidence, I heard it. And I said, did you hear that? Did you hear a growl or barking? And my buddy on the audio says, nope. And the next thing you hear right next to us is like that, man. Right? No, I didn't hear it at that time. Okay. I just noticed I heard something that sounded like a growl. It's getting colder, full moon. And all of a sudden we're sitting there. This is probably about 3-4 hours. It's getting cooler. I have to use the restroom. Yep. But I'm not going to urinate anywhere near a cemetery. That's very disrespectful.
Yeah, not a smart idea. No matter. Right. I get it. Right. I get it. Yeah.
So I said, you know what? I said to myself, hold on when we get to the car, when we go, and I'll pee over there. Pardon the expression. And I don't know if you ever heard of Steve Stockton. He's another great writer. And
he's on the list to talk to. He's a great dude.
He's a buddy of mine. He loves this story because you'll hear. Right. Okay. So it's funny where we're staying. You can see the moon breaking through the full moon. Mind you, we're at a cemetery. Yeah. And my hand to God, this white mist starts rolling in. Uh-oh. And it's like your classic. If you ever seen those old werewolves, there's like this white fog coming in. And I'm like, dude, are you seeing this? And he's, I'm seeing it. And I'm like, holy crap. So we stayed there a little bit longer, and he's acting weird. I said, look, he's getting a little bit chilled. I said, we've been here long enough. Let's just go back to the car. I got to go to the bathroom. Let's go back. Right. And we agree. So we pack our stuff up. Actually, before that happens, these guys come back in, and we said when they come back in, we're going to ask them about their experiences again.
Oh, yeah.
So these guys noticed us when we came back in, and again, they come in like bats out of hell, and they're looking for us. And we're like, okay, can we ask you questions about strange stuff here? No, and we're out of here. And then they go. Again, very strange. It's like they know something we don't.
Exactly.
Oh, they know a lot more. They're not going to tell.
Yeah.
Because no one believes you when you tell these things. But so we walk back out. We have our little lamps on, and we start walking to the car. And as we're walking to the car, I'm on his passenger side of this, my buddy's vehicle. It's a Jeep, little Jeep Liberty. So I figured, okay, when we get to the car, just before I get in, I'll pee on the side. Now, where his car is, I would be standing on a 3-foot grade. Okay. As we're walking, we see eye shine. Now I'm thinking deer. And as we're getting there, it's getting a little bit more amberish, and it's getting bigger, and it's right by the car.
Oh, man.
And I'm like, what the hell is that? And we're looking. Now, I don't have any firearms. I don't. I live in New York City. It's impossible to get.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So what we do is on investigations, we carry machetes. So I have one here.
Oh, interesting.
One here and one on my side, plus a couple folding knives.
Wow.
We have bear. We have big cat.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense.
I don't really want to kill anything, but you got to protect yourself, right?
I get it. Yeah.
So I got the machete here, and I got it on the side, whatever, my backpack. We get to the car, and I got to pee. I'm going to be brutally honest. So as we get there, we see this thing sitting there. We're like, is it a deer? No, it's not a deer. And it's just in the shadows. You can see its shape. It's got the shape of a head. It has these like a Marmaduke type of ears, like big ears pointed.
Yeah.
And it looks like a snout, and they're yellow eyes, and it's sitting there on its haunch. Doesn't move, doesn't blink, doesn't do anything. Now, where I am no more than 15 feet to 20 feet from it. I've had dogs my entire life. I know all about dogs. So I got to pee. So my buddy Al's we're talking about, see, how come it's not moving? Maybe it's a dog. It was too big. And then it hits me that I'm 6'1". I'm standing on a 3-foot grade. That makes me 9 feet 1 inches. This thing sitting down on its haunch, its snout was about here to my nose.
Oh my goodness.
So that means that this thing sitting is over 8 feet tall.
Jeez.
So I start peeing in front of it. And my buddies, dude, get in the car. We can do this later. I'm like, no, dude, I gotta go. And I'm peeing in front of it. And I put my bag in the car, whatever, and I'm peeing. And it's just sitting there. And it's like, I'm going. It was like an Austin Powers type of pee. I got to be honest.
Oh, yeah. Like evacuation complete.
Yeah. It was just kept going.
Now we're dating ourselves. You know?
Yeah. We date ourselves all we want. And my buddy's, get in the car, Bryan. Get in the car. I'm like, dude, I'm not finished. He goes, get in the car. I'm going to leave you here. And I'm like, dude, I'm not finished. I'm looking at him in the car. And then I look back and we notice this thing. And what it does is it just slowly goes down, lies down, one fluid motion, and then disappears. Now, at that minute, when stuff's about to get real for me, and when I'm going to have an experience or something's going to happen, I get the goose pimples.
Yep.
Hard as a rock. And I'm like, time to go. I threw my stuff in there, and I got in the car, and we peeled off. And that was our experience. But I was no more than 15 to 20 feet from this. And it was definitely, I know enough about dogs.
Yeah.
There is no dog on the planet that sitting down is 8 feet tall.
Yeah.
And at that moment, we started discussing it. I kept looking out the back, but nothing came out. And here's the interesting part. If we're talking about Dogman as a canine or a bipedal, whatever, canine-based cryptid, when a dog urinates in front of another dog, it marks its territory. Yeah. It says to that dog, I'm the boss. I'm the alpha.
That may have saved you, dude. You never know.
So we're thinking about this, and I was talking to my buddy Al. I'm like, he goes, dude, don't ever do that again. I'm going to leave you. I'm like, you're not going to leave me. You love me too much, and you're going to have to explain that crap to my wife. It's not going to happen. But it was it was fine up until that point where he disappeared. It was very unnerving type of thing. But I just always thought like this Dogman was like, holy crap, this guy's crazy.
Yeah,
being in front of me. I can just picture me going back to the crew at the pound or the Dogman pound going, so there he was. He's standing there and he's peeing in front of me. Who does he think he is?
Yeah, that's wild, dude. That's one of the wildest stories I've ever heard on this podcast outside of Jody Cook. I'm not even kidding.
I know Jody, but
yeah,
God's honest truth. And Steve Stockton loves that. He goes, I've gotten so much mileage out of it. But it's the truth. Funny. It's just, but the concept is now from that point, I've been in situations where there were dogmen present, but I haven't interacted with them. And I'm wondering, it seems like with this cryptid, which I didn't want to believe to begin with, I was like, okay, come on, werewolves. They're 100% legitimate and real. They are very horrific. Yeah. According to Vic Cundiff, basically, and through the research, there's 7 variants. I don't know if my camera's catching 7 variants, whatever.
There you go.
And you have the soldier ones that look like something out of Van Helsing, like these monsters that like could rip you up. They are very menacing looking. There's nothing nice about this cryptid.
No, whatsoever. Not at all.
Zero. Okay. Up until there's a Dogman Type 3, which is like a hybrid. So what I did before the show, because I've never been on the show, and I thank you very much for having me on your show.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah.
I feel so highbrow that we're talking Dogman and Bigfoot on the Bigfoot Society.
Yeah,
when you put society in something, it's really, they don't want me here. I'm not a society type, but
it's an interesting name for a podcast. It's a whole thing.
I think it's great. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, thank you.
But something very interesting is there's a Dogman Type 3.
Okay.
And one of them it looks a little bit like a Bigfoot, but it also looks like a dog. It has that canine type of lichen or Anubis look to it. But it's not as menacing. And my theory, SAT word, people.
There you go.
I think that there's a point in time, and I have some other theories on this, where Bigfoot and Dogman do a West Side Story.
Yeah, I got you.
And they mate. And I think they have the ability to connect with each other. And maybe it's, the way I look at it is maybe it's the weaker link for both ends of it. The runts of the litter.
Okay.
Sounds really weird and impersonal. And they just find each other and they propagate. And they'll produce pups as well as Bigfoot or Dogman Type 3s. We did another investigation, and we did it up in upstate New York.
Okay.
Very close. I'll just say it's near 5522-ish area. If you know that, or 44 and Route 40. Okay.
Okay. I know where like Speculator is. You're talking like Adirondacks.
No, I'm talking actually where your grandparents near.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
There's a place in the Four Corners there where Massachusetts, New York, and Connecticut meet. There's a place called Bish Bash Falls.
Dude, I've been to Bish Bash.
Yeah.
It's wild.
I love that place.
My father used to take me there all the time when I was a little kid.
Don't go in the water.
Dude.
I love that place.
I always felt it was weird too, but he's not into weird stuff. So he never told me weird stories. He didn't know him.
He probably has seen some things or knows some things through years and years of X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
But, that's rubbish. That's folklore.
Dude.
But I'll tell you, when you start investigating these things, it's not folklore.
Yeah.
So this is close there, but more on the New York side.
Okay.
I'm being very vague for reasons because I want to protect certain areas.
Okay.
So this is a big lake, and it was really once used by United Nuclear Corporation to do. They were working with weapons grade uranium.
Oh man.
To develop an engine. What kind of engine we don't know, but they had an accident there, and it went into the lake, and the military eventually cleaned it up. But it's an area throughout time from indigenous people. Has high strangeness in the area.
Really?
Lots of high strangeness. Cryptids, gnomes, elemental type of creatures, everything, even Bigfoot, right? Yeah. Whoa. So my buddy decides, we're doing a day-night investigation, Halloween Eve, full moon, meteor shower. So we said, okay, cool, we'll go to the lake. Now the park closes at sunset, but the Appalachian Trail kind of skirts the lake a little bit, right?
Yep.
So you can be on the Appalachian Trail all you want, but when you get into a federal park, they close.
Yeah, okay.
And they're pretty good about it. So we can't park in their parking lot. So we park a half a mile away in a certain area, and we hoof it. And we walk down a half a mile. And then once you get to the park, it's probably about 3/4 of a mile to get to the tip of the lake. And when you get to the tip of this, there's still radiation poisoning in there. There's radioactive waste.
Whoa.
Right.
Whoa.
So you can either take a path to the right of the lake or to the left.
Okay.
If you go to the right of the lake, it's a go trail. There's no way you're going to make it.
All right.
And there's rocks. You're going to die. You literally, it's not for the faint of heart. No one really does it because it's just too complex. So you go to the right. Now, as you go to the right, you can meet up with the Appalachian Trail.
Okay.
And then at certain spots, it's not like it's a place where you can park your rear and start a campfire. They don't want that.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit open of an area there.
Yep.
And then it's a nice spot. Now, my buddy went there previously because he's been there before. He's had interactions with what he calls a bipedal cryptid, Bigfoot. And he's brought people there and he's heard the monkey barking stuff. So I'm excited. I'm like, cool, let's go. Let's do this. So we walk in and we walk this one spot. We say, okay, at that spot, there's a rock formation to the left of us that's pretty high up. It's impossible really to get in there, where it's located, because it's really intense. Even if you try to circle back around it, it would take you hours to get this one spot. And on top of it is it's like a cairn. So it's like a piling of rocks.
Yep, I gotcha.
Yeah, I find it very, very weird, but knowing a little bit about the Inuit Indians from the north, they have something called a Nukashuk.
Okay.
And that's what they do is they build these rock totems that look like humans, and they're like with arms out, legs. And they put that up purposely to ward off the evil and say, nope, there's something here. Don't come here. So it's okay. This is weird. We go a little bit further. And by the time we get to the location he wants to start at, because there are two of these, he found 3 quartz balls, like quartz rock that was like chipped away. So they're round, not smooth, but rounded, not natural.
Yeah.
That's at the other end of the lake. So at the top point of the lake, it's about 2 miles up.
My goodness.
So he says, we're going to make our stand here. That's where we're going to start. And then we'll slowly come back to this area. We'll do another investigation here. And then that's what the plan was. So we go there and there's 3 of us. There's me, my buddy Al, and a friend of ours named Bill. Bill had a YouTube program he videotaped. So Al wanted him to go there. He wanted to go, but Al wanted a little videotaping action.
Right. Yeah.
I tried to live stream through Twitter.
Yeah.
The cell signals were, so I was trying to do live streaming, trying to not do live streaming. So when we got to this one location, the way we set it up, if you're looking at us, I'm all the way to the right, about 10 feet in my right is Al, and then about 10 feet to him, he's behind a bigger set of rocks.
Okay.
And then to 10 feet to his right is Bill sitting in an area that's a little bit near a mini rock wall, one of those rock walls you find in the woods. So we set our stuff up. We don't start a fire because we don't have any problems with any fire. We're not really supposed to be there. And we start doing investigation. Al's listening through parabolic microphone.
Exactly.
And you hear tree knocks every once in a while. I'm like,
wow.
Did you hear that tree knock? Yeah, I got that. But basically, Bill's videotaping for himself, narrating whatever he's doing there. I'm doing my own investigation. I have all my meters out. I'm checking out MF meters. I got FLIR. I've got full spectrum cameras, whatever, taking pictures. And Al's doing his own thing. And he discovers a certain point when he used the parabolic mic, as he points it up, he gets this like weird noise. It's almost like an SOS or Morse code. And I'm like, I'm looking at it. And he's, what the hell is that? And I said, it could be one of things. It could be a microwave transmitter, but the military and U.S. government use in case of a nuclear, bomb.
Okay.
Which they said they're shut off, but I think they still use them now.
Yeah.
It could be radiation from the lake because this tree, if you go back to when this tree was, it would be a lot lower. So it's roughly about the height through the growth process, or it's freaking aliens. So there's your 3 choices there. And all the while when we were there, I kept hearing rock knocks, boom, across the lake from us.
Yes.
And I kept hearing tree knocks. So I'm like, okay, this is very interesting. And in the distance, being in the woods, you could hear a lot further away. But in the distance from us, we kept hearing dogs barking. And as the night started to get darker and the sun started setting, we started playing again with the Tibetan singing bowls, ramping it up.
Okay.
We did some experiments. He has a rose quartz crystal head skull. I have a clear crystal head skull.
Interesting.
His name's Scully. It's cool. So we were doing, we hitting it with EMF meters. We're hitting it with temperature gauges. Nothing was radiation off of these rocks. There was no anomalies. But once we started doing the Tibetan singing bowls, this pressure started building as it was getting darker and we were there.
Oh, man.
And to explain the pressure, the best way I can explain it is if you've ever been, in the summer someplace and you smell a rain coming. It gets a little bit pressurized.
Yep.
It was like, but that on crack, it was like 1,000 times worse.
Wow.
You just felt uncomfortable.
Okay.
So we said, let's call a psychic in Arkansas. Okay. So we call her up and she gets on the phone and she's all jumbled. You can't hear a word from her.
Weird.
Are you okay? He goes, it's very strange. There's a lot of energy. It's very strange. And eventually we have to cut her off.
Okay.
And at that point, we're hearing louder wood knocks from where we are. So we're at the top of this. I'm going to use this. We're up here.
Yep.
And to the right of us, there's a little bit of water here.
Okay.
Still a lake. There are wood knocks coming from that direction. And it's getting more and more intense. You can feel it like you want to, like something's going to go on. Something's happening. And at one point, we kept hearing footfall, but it it was really weird. It was like heavy footfall. And again, the way I best can describe it is I've been to some agriculture fairs, like for you, it would be the Goshen Fair or the Big E up there in Massachusetts. Yeah,
exactly.
Okay?
Yeah.
And when you have a team of horses walking, or if you've ever been to an outdoor circus, you can feel when the elephant's moving.
Oh, yeah.
You feel like, what was that? That's the elephant moving. That's what it felt like. I'm like, whatever this thing is, it's big. And we heard brakes here and there, but it's very slow. And we're all doing our own thing. And the next thing, it's dark. It's pitch black. Now, me being from New York, got to understand, so is my buddy Al, and so is actually Bill. I'm always looking for, okay, if something happens now, where am I going to go? I'm not jumping in nuclear wasted water.
No.
I don't climb trees that good. I can't go to the left of me, which is the GO trail. It's pitch black. So I'm going to have to make a book. I would have to go to the right or stand my ground. Basically, I have to stand my ground. Something happens.
Okay.
And we're hearing these louder wood knocks and whatever. And at one point, again, we're just sitting there. And my buddy Al goes, it sounds like people are here. I'm like, it's not people. And the next thing you know, you hear something running in Bill's direction from behind him. And he gets up running. So I get up and we form a pyramid.
Yeah.
Al, I'm to Al's right. So we're like that pyramid thing. And Bill starts taking off.
Oh my God.
Now, if he didn't stop, he would have killed himself. He would have poked his eye out. He would have went into the, it would have been really bad.
Yeah.
So I'm ready. And I've got my machete 3/4 drawn. And I'm like, okay, let's go. And I'm thinking it's either bear, possibly, or a big cat.
Yeah.
Al's thinking also big cat, but this is really big. And Bill is just panicked. So I'll go, stand your ground, Bill, stand your ground. Bill is useless at this point. Love you, Bill, but you were useless. So it's just me and Al. And then we turn on this flashlight. So Bill had like a 3 million or 6 million watt flashlight. We look in that direction. There's nothing there. We use full spectrum camera, nothing. FLIR, nothing. We run over to the area and like there's nothing. It would literally sound it was right next to us. So, okay, this is really strange. So we settle back down again. Al's using the parabolic mic. And at this point, we hear the tree knocks again. And then we hear them again. And the next thing you know, my buddy goes, I think there are people here. And you hear whoop. And then the third whoop is at the other end of the lake, 2 miles away. Whoop. And he goes, I think that's people. I'm like, are you out of your mind?
Yeah, that's not people.
Yeah, it's not. You know, and you can feel this thing reverberating in your chest.
Okay,
and I got to be honest with you. I do investigate this stuff. I'm a glutton for punishment, as they say. It was a depends moment.
Yeah.
Because you're just it was just, and they go, what was that? I'm like, dude, that was right here. And where it came from was right behind us.
Wow.
We're at between Al and I on this little ledge of the area. We run up to that area, full lights blazing right after that. There's nothing. We don't hear a tree knock. We don't hear anything else after that point. And I'm thinking like, okay, I got it now. And in my head, I've already had this judgment. This is a Bigfoot and no freaking doubt about it. And when that tree knock happened, they were two really close together. He or she, this Bigfoot said, whoop, there are 3 of them. Take the long way home.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was an advanced scout. And we did not move from that point. We just didn't move. We stood our grounds.
Oh, man.
So after that, a few minutes later, I think it got pissed off. And the next thing you hear, you hear something coming from the trees behind me, like breaking branches. And then I hear a thud right behind me, boom. and I'm sitting in one of those like Coleman type of chairs.
Yep.
And I hear a roll, hits my chair, throws me out of my chair forward.
Whoa.
And I look, and there's this, I'm going to say it's a boulder. It's a bigger rock than I can. It's a couple 100 pounds.
Man.
And I was just like, holy crap, this thing wanted to kill me. I would have been dead.
Yeah.
So mind you, again, we're taking pictures. We have FLIR. We have all these different types of cameras. I use a special camera, an Olympus A4.
Okay.
It's really for underwater photography, but I use it on investigations because they have an algorithm in there where you capture the scene, but it helps to add light to the photo where so it's like a dark camera, like something with very little lux, but without any manipulation of the actual image. That's why I liked it.
Okay. That's cool.
So and it records video. Okay, cool. So after a while, once that final blow with that rock happened, that pressure we felt disappeared. It was like an elephant came off my chest. I'm like, holy crap. So we're breathing. And I said, you know what? We've been here too long. And Al goes, yeah, let's move to the next destination. So this is probably about, I'm going to say 9 o'clock, something like that, whatever. So we start walking, put our lamps on, get our gears. And I'm packing my stuff up, and I had a little backpack. And I put the camera in the bag, and I said, nope, Bryan, don't be that guy that is the one that has the camera in the bag. Instead, I put it in my breast pocket.
Okay.
So we start walking. There's 3 of us. Now, it's a beautiful night. Full moon, great stars, the country. And we're at a point in the lake where we're at the top of that point of the lake where you can see out. And I can see from where I was, I'm in the north. So if I'm in the north, the west is to my right, east is to my left, and the south is straight ahead. And as we're walking, I see this orange like object. It looks like an incandescent light. And I'm thinking, oh, it's a helicopter. And we're walking, and we all stop, and it's going from west to east, and it starts flying. Right. And I say, what is that? And I point to it. And then it stops when I say that, and it comes right towards us.
What?
So my brain is, ooh, this is getting really interesting.
Yeah.
At this point, this thing starts flying to us. It's hovering maybe 20 feet above us. You can't see it. It's like I'm going to say like an eye shape, like the shape of an eyeball, like an almond.
I gotcha. Yeah.
And it's just in the distance where you can see it's like black, like gunmetal black, but you can't really see anything. And we're hanging. It's Al, myself, and Bill. And Al is praying at this point because he doesn't want any of us to get abducted. Oh, please don't let him get abducted.
Wow.
I don't want the responsibility. At this point, I've had my camera out and I'm videotaping it. So I said, I see it. I see it. It's right there. And this video, if you want, Bronxville Paranormal Society, YouTube, you'll see the orange video.
Awesome.
And listen with headphones because it's important.
Okay.
And you hear this little sound that's going on. You hear like a motorish sound and like a musical sound.
Weird.
And so Al says, and you hear him in the video, time check. And I say 9:15. Okay. From where we are with this UFO to get to the next location is 5 minutes, no more than that. And you hear Bill after a while, he sounds like a zombie. It's just looking at us. Something like that. I forgot what it is.
Oh, man.
And then the next thing, it beams that light down on us. So we shut our headlamps off, beams the light on us. And then it's over. And we go, wow, okay, let's walk to the next location. So we walk to the next location. That's the open area I talked about in the beginning where we got to.
Yep.
So we're hanging out there. We set up the chairs. I'm setting my stuff up. I jerry-rigged Bill's camera so he has a side monitor. You can look at it. And he has an SD card in it. And our psychic said we're going to see these like gnomish things that are there. And I start seeing things in the woods from gnomes to taller beings that are there just out of the eye. And these gnomes are moving back and forth. I said, do you see those things moving back and forth from tree to tree? And Bill and Al looking at this thing and he goes, oh my God, I can't believe we're videotaping this. So they were videotaping these things go back and forth. And then I'm like, oh, this is incredible. And at one point, Al sees an orb on the water. And he says, Bryan, you take your laser. I think I had a green laser. He had a red laser. He goes, when I tell you 3, we'll hit it. Let's see when we get a reaction.
Yeah.
And we do that. And the thing just disappears.
Whoa.
And we're like, dude, this is great. We got this video. Let's go look at it again.
Yeah.
So we try to look at it again. And we see it. You can see when you hit record, you see it, the countdown clock. and we're recording it. Try to use it, card won't work.
Oh my goodness, are you kidding me?
And I'm like,
no.
I'm like, there's no way. This is an SD card, so there's no mechanics in it. It should have been recording. So Al's, okay, you know what? Let's give Cindy a call again. Time check. And mind you, this has been like no more than 10, 20 minutes, nothing more in total from traveling over to that area. And I go 10 to 12. And he's like, what?
No
and I'm like,
way.
and I look at him like 10 to 12. What the hell is that? Oh, we got to give Cindy a call.
Boy.
So we start giving her, we call her up, right? Now she's an hour behind. She's Central, right? Arkansas. And she's like, what the hell's going on with you guys? I'm like, you sound better, Cindy. And as we're talking, we hear what sounds like Bill's away from us in the woods videotaping.
Okay.
And we hear what sounds like a family out in the woods at 12 midnight on Halloween. It's like they go for a walk in the park. So we hang up on Cindy and we say, listen, put your lights on because we don't want to freak these people out. They come around the woods. So we all put our lights on. We're 3 guys with machetes.
3 guys with machetes.
Yeah. So we're waiting and we're waiting and waiting. Nothing comes. So we walk over there. We look. There's nobody there. Not a soul.
Whoa.
We don't hear him anymore. We get Cindy back on the phone. And I was like, look, we heard these people. And like, she goes, no, those people aren't there. They'll be there tomorrow. You're in a space-time rip right now.
Oh, my goodness. No.
So we're like, okay, this is getting weird, whatever. So, okay. And she goes, yeah, they'll be there tomorrow. I said, yeah, we saw these different beings, which are elementals, which she said we would. I said, I told you. And after a few minutes, about 12 o'clock, we're on the phone with them maybe 5 minutes. We decide it's been a long night. Let's pack up. We'll go. And we're walking out of this place. And not one of us is discussing anything that took place between the bipedal cryptid, the UFO incident, the missing time, and time-space trip.
Oh my God.
And normally we go to an investigation afterwards. We will go to a diner and talk about these different things. And we didn't. So long story short, everybody went their separate ways. And I'm driving back to the city, like scanning the skies. The next day I wake up and I have this awful metallic taste in my mouth and phlegm. And I breathe it up and I spit out. And I look, my tongue is blue. It looks like I ate a Smurf. Okay. Oh. So I call my buddy and I'm like, Al, you have something weird going on with you or anything like that? Because I told him about the metallic taste and it looks like I ate a Smurf. He goes, so what about Bill? He goes, Al says, I feel like there's something hard on my lip. I got a headache and I have a little bump in my head. I said, go call Bill and then get back to me and let's find out. So at that point, my wife comes in with my 2 kids from the Sunday school and they go, Daddy, and I have no shirt on. They go, what happened to you? I'm like, what are you talking about? What happened to those bruises? I have 2 bruises, one over here and one on my body. I'm like, I never hit anything. What? So Al comes back on. I said, dude, I got bruises on my body. What the hell's going on? He goes, Bill woke up screaming like bloody murder in the middle of the night. He scared the hell out of his mother. So that was it for that expedition. We made agreement that if we were going to get redressed, we'd do it together. But I have a lot of people in the investigation business. And one of my friends, Derek Tyler, who saw the video of the UFO, he says, I said, Derek, what do you think it is? He goes, I said, you're being downloaded. So basically we were being abducted. I said, well, think about regressing. He's don't. Okay. You sleep well? I said, yeah, I sleep all right. It's hard for me to go to sleep, but do you have nightmares? No, don't regress. You'll never be able to go back.
Whoa, wild.
So I said, okay, cool. Fast forward. That was October. We go to the summer of the next year. We decide to go back to the area. We're all being drawn to it. And as we're there, we're drawn to it. Bill's there and whatever. And we're walking to where we were. And there's no way in hell this thing could be over there, move through these woods from point A to point B when it went whoop. Right. And then no way. So we walk a little bit further into a swampy area and Bill's videotaping and Al gets a higher perspective. And I see it right off the bat. And Al goes, oh my God, look, we find a den. So Bill starts trying to go get closer there. He steps in. We almost lose him in the swamp, the mud. Takes a video. He goes back home later that night. And I'm like, this is cool. He's watching the video. His mom goes, what are those monkeys doing there? So we're like, what? So I see the video. It's huge. It looks like a pup growling and clearly a werewolf type, a wolfman type of animal creature. And this was what was in the den. And we were able to blow that up. Also,
dude,
if you go to the Bronxville Paranormal Society and you look at the nuclear lake investigation, they'll see the images. I was looking at it so many different times. I've seen it on screens the size of my phone, all the way up to 85-inch TV sets, and I missed it. It's why you don't edit your own homework or papers. You're going to miss things.
Yeah.
My partner was talking about something. Someone went in there and they circled from the actual images one that looks like a dog man peeking over the wall, and you'll see the wall where we were, and another one that looks like a giant monkey. Okay. It's a little bit blobby, but it's not as blobby as you think. It clearly looks like Harry from Harry and the Henderson.
Yep.
So that's my interaction with, I don't want to take, I'm looking at time here and I don't want to kill you with that.
My goodness. This is, wow. This is, dude, this is one of my, and it's such a, like, this episode shouldn't have happened, really, if you think about it, because I've never, to be honest, Brian, you've never heard of me. I've never heard of you. And Kenny just happened to say, hey, Brian, can you take my place? And I'm so glad I got to talk to you. Dude, you rock.
Yeah.
Right,
I do my own research, but I'm usually in all these groups.
Yeah.
But the current way of things going now, it's not researchers and investigators. It's a lot of storytellers. And they're telling some crazy stories and it's getting exaggerated. And it's actually hurting the investigation, the research.
Totally.
But we have we call this a plan B. So when we plan on doing A, we go to plan B. And a lot of times plan Bs are very productive. There's another time close to New York State, we were supposed to go shooting one day, closed. We did plan B. We found a whole area where in a park in New York State, upstate New York, we found a mother and child footprint of Bigfoot.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And I didn't have casting material, but I did have a LiDAR phone. So I have a LiDAR image of this. So
Brian, I could literally talk to you for hours, and plus you get the whole I'm gonna have you come back one day.
Sure.
And you get the whole Berkshires in northwestern Connecticut area. You get it, dude. But
basically spent 12 years of my life there. Yeah. And now it's off to Florida for the skunk ape. So when I go down there.
Can you share with the listeners like how they can best keep up to date with what you're doing? And I'll put it in the show notes.
Sure. Right now, I'm in between my podcasts because I'm moving. So I have to get that stuff situated. But I'm on all the podcasts under Inside the Goblin Universe. Okay. I do one with Ron Murphy or Ron the Crypto Guru Murphy. Okay. And I do my own NoBoBuMe, which stands for Nobody But Me. I'm on every piece of social media when I'm not being kicked off for being political on certain things, protecting everybody's rights.
Right.
But you can direct message me if you have any questions. I will just say, hey, I heard you on Bigfoot Society. So I have a reference of where you're coming from. Right. And I will eventually have this Bronxville Paranormal Society, the New York State UFO Project, New York State Sasquatch.org. But I will have BryanBowden.com up and running soon.
Awesome.
And that will also have links to get to these our websites. And just look for our groups, Bronxville Paranormal Society, New York State UFO Project on Facebook. When
fantastic.
They're not
fantastic. Oh, man. Brian, thank you so much for coming on, and I'll be talking to you in the future.
Pleasure.
One day. Thanks again, sir.
Just want to take a few minutes to say thank you to you, all my listeners, for listening to the podcast. Please take a minute to help out the show by subscribing on YouTube, making sure you hit the bell so you don't miss any notifications, and share the episode on YouTube with a friend. Also, if you're listening to us on a podcast, thank you so much. Make sure that you're subscribed, share the show with a friend. Really, it's all about sharing the show wherever you can. Something I would love to hear, and I've never asked for this before, but if you've ever randomly met another person and you found out that you both listen to the Bigfoot Society, I would love to hear about that. It just sounds like a really funny scenario. I have heard of that happening a few times, but I would love to hear your story as well. So you can email me, bigfootsociety@gmail.com. A special thank you to all the Bigfoot Society Patreon and YouTube channel members. It's your support that helps keep the show going, and I extremely appreciate it. I'll see you back next time, listeners. New shows on Mondays and Fridays. I'll see you then.